So welcome everybody to these new sessions that I'm hoping to do once a month, and it's lovely to see you here and to be a part of this growing understanding in the world of how everything is connected. And so these sessions are called Your Body, the Teacher, because that's what I believe happens to us and for us as the body starts to show imbalances in the form of illness or disease or discomfort. What it's bringing to the surface is these imbalances that are within us, and the body is asking for attention in those areas and looking for a deeper sense of balance. And so often we don't know what it is that's imbalanced inside of us. But when we start digging deeper, as many of you here will know and understand, we start to discover the imbalances that are existing within us. So it's not just physical, it's within our thought processes and our belief systems, how we're thinking about ourselves, what sort of energy are we putting out there, and what sort of energy we're reacting to, because everything is connected. How our environment has brought us into this world, and how there may have been imbalances right from the very beginning, from when we first arrived in the world, which distorts our picture and our sense of what is balanced, like what is love, what is joy, what is happiness. Those senses and those understandings can be really misunderstood and unbalanced right from the day that we arrive in the world, depending on the environment that we live in. So it's really hard for us to understand what is what is balance. What should I expect from others? How does fear limit you? And how is fear affecting my thinking so much that I don't even realize I'm unbalanced? And so that's where the body comes in, because it's showing us our blind spots. It's showing us that there's something that isn't quite right, whether it's a belief, whether it's a thought process, whether it's a boundary, whether it's our voice, whether it's our power. It's showing us something. And this gives us control back. It gives us a sense of understanding for ourselves and who we are in terms of authenticity. And are we being authentic, or are we living in survival? So that's what these sessions are all about, is like rediscovering, as we talk about various illnesses or pains or issues where we are in not in ease, as in dis-ease, how we can rebalance that from a perspective of our thoughts, from our minds, how we can discover the beliefs that are sitting below the surface that are actually harmful for us. So that's what I want to explore in these sessions. And I'm hoping that by making these public, it will just create more questioning, instead of sitting in this place where we feel like a victim, I suppose, to whatever is coming up for us. The more we can understand, the more we can question, what am I thinking about this? What am I believing about myself, this situation, my life in general? Then that questioning process is empowering, and it can create change. And then with change comes healing. And with change, we become more whole, and we become more balanced and more authentic. So that's what I'm hoping that we can achieve with these sessions. So I am just going to open it up to you. And so if you have a question, please feel free to either put your hand up or shout. We'll see how many we get through today. Who'd like to start?
So, like I said, you want some kind of pill to pop, that when that anger's coming, or when there is that you're feeling, you're aware that you're nervous or you're fearful. What is it, and how is it that we can calm ourselves down, and what would be the like a kind of a routine that we should be following so that we don't fall into that uh, same zone that we get ourselves, we don't go back to that same belief and don't go back to it's.
So you're asking about really how can I balance myself when I'm triggered?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So when something comes up and you feel the fear or you feel the anger.
yes, true.
Yeah. So there's an exploration for yourself there, and a place of self-discovery to go. But first of all, I would say that it's a it it's always a process, as in it's not a I do this and then that issue is gone.
Mm,
It's a process of understanding yourself and how things can alter over time. So there's a gentleness to be had with a trigger, because the first part of that answering that question is to say you've got to be aware that there's a trigger first of
mm.
all, because quite often we don't even recognize that there is a trigger. Actually, I'm just going to mute you, Harita, just because I can hear myself. That's better. Thank you. So when we are triggered, we might know that we're uncomfortable. We might know that we feel anxious. We might know that we feel really fearful. We, we recognize that there's stress. We probably call it stress. I feel stressed, or this thing is making me stressed. So first of all, it's like recognizing that that stress reaction is a trigger, and identifying the emotion that's there. Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it something else? Is it shame? Is it guilt? Is that you're reacting to? So, it's sitting with the discomfort of that emotion and going, okay, so what has just happened? What am I angry about? What am I fearful about? What do I think will happen? And you can ask yourself why questions, but sometimes that can get in a bit of a loop, because you can't always answer a why question, but you can answer the question, what do I think will happen here? What am I fearful of? What am I actually angry about? Because whatever you're angry about or fearful about, that it will take you deeper. So what am I angry about? I feel disrespected. When you feel disrespected, or that a boundary has been crossed, is it true? Has a boundary actually been crossed? Is it true that this awful thing is going to happen? Is it true that I am going to be on the streets because of this particular thing? Whatever the thought process is, is it true? And it's also recognizing that your nervous system is activated at that moment. So there's tightness, there's the idea that we're feeling stress. Is because we're feeling the effects of that in our bodies. So we're feeling the tightness, the shortening of breath, the desire to get away or not be in that situation. And so this is overall, this is a process of almost disidentifying with all the stuff that's coming up and being able to sit and reflect on it. But the things that you can do in those moments are going to be about regulating your nervous system. And you can find lots of things online about regulating your nervous system, whether it's just breathing, whether it's certain like twisting exercises, whether it's walking, physical exercise, whatever it is that works for you to bring your system into a regulated place, then that's the thing to focus on right there and then at that moment before you do the reflection, because you can't really reflect when you're in a state of activation of the nervous system. So each of us needs to work out what we can do to help us to just rebalance our nervous system. And there are so many different ways, and there are some really quick ways as well. There are some really quick ways to balance yourself. One of them might be tapping. One of them might be I don't know if you've seen the like twisting exercises where you move your shoulders one way, your head the other way, like holding yourself in a hug. But you can search all this to know what works for you, and you have to try. It's trial and error. It's trial and error, and then going into the inquiry space. Is this landing, Harita? Is this helpful at all?
Yes, very helpful. And also would like to know about, this whole 3 months, there's been so much of change in me that, in fact, my partner thinks I'm no more angry. I've not been angry for a month. I've been very accommodative. And now, just to ensure that it lasts, what is the way forward? Are we going to be having any more contact sessions, or what is, or does the course end here, or what is the?
So you're talking about RCP,
Yes.
and you're talking about what happens next. But I am doing a what happens next session this evening. So so if you want to join that, you're quite welcome, and then we can talk about that. But what I hear in what you're saying is I'm hearing fear that what I've learned so far won't stick and won't stay. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. So it is a constant process. Rebalancing, healing is a constant process. It's a constant awareness of what's happening in your mind and your thoughts, in your nervous system. It does require a certain amount of attention, and so that's the whole part of healing. Is it's never an overnight thing, because you're essentially wanting to rebalance things that have been out of balance for years, and whatever comes up in your body is a manifestation of things that have been out of balance for years and years. So we're never going to change those like immediately. I'm not saying it can't be done, because there are people that have changed things really quickly, and certainly some layers of ourselves. Once you stop believing a particular belief, then the physical manifestation just dissolves, because it just doesn't need to be there anymore, because then the belief changes, and then the tension that you're holding around that belief just dissipates. So that can happen, but at a deeper level, we're often sitting in patterns that we've been sitting in since we were children. And so undoing each of those patterns, each of those layers, those of you who've been working with me for quite some time know that there's a layer that you think, oh, I think I've sorted that one out. And then there's something else that comes along to challenge you. So, you know, your body's always teaching you and always taking you to a step further. There's always more. There's always further. There's always more. So, you know, when you're talking about the fear of things not sticking, then this is where you make a conscious choice to continue this awareness work, to continue to look at what comes up for you, you know. So thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks so much for your work. I love it. I took the RCP. I had a question about your experience with young adults. I've been doing this work and it's part of my profession, and I love it so much, but I also have 3 children who are young adults, and I work also with young adults. And so they're not the children anymore where their nervous systems are developing and there's already been trauma and patterns established. But I'm feeling like it's really hard to motivate them to tune into their bodies because, you know, with all of the devices and years of that already, my kids know so well what I think about all these things. But I wanted to know if you have any experience really engaging young adults, teenagers to like early 20s. It's such an important time in their life with relationships and friends and all these addictive substances. How to not motivate is so mental, but, you know, to help them really attune, strengthen their interoception, and make that connection. If you have any experience or wisdom there, I'd be grateful.
Well, mostly my experience comes from my own 3 children, and doing this work. So just notice, first of all, in yourself how you're wanting them to be different and to get it, and to, you know, start now, because you've got a whole lifetime of imbalance otherwise. You know, there's, because you're aware of the work and you're aware of how beneficial it can be for people, that there's a desire in you to help them, and that's an amazing thing. But we can only influence our children and that age group by being the role model.
Yeah.
And doing the work ourselves. And in my understanding and my experience is that we can't do it for them. And so, because everybody's here, every individual is here on their own journey. And I don't know about you and the other people sitting here, but some of you may have had experiences when you were younger about, I don't know, somebody told me this years ago and I ignored it. Somebody introduced me to meditation years ago and I couldn't, you know, I couldn't do it then, but now I want to do it now. And somebody introduced me to this idea. Everything that you say to those people that you're working with has an influence, whether you're aware of it or not, whether they act on it or not. You're planting a seed. There's a reason why you are in the room with these other young adults, and these other, and your own children. And so rather than waiting for them or expecting them to change, just know that everything that you say is going in at some level, and they may not be able to hear it, take it in, act on it at this stage of their journey through life. But the more you are positive about the changes that they can make, rather than using rules or control or shoulds and shouldn'ts, the more open you are, the more you're embodying that that balance, that authenticity inside of you, the more they will be influenced by your whole energy in that. So I get that sometimes it feels like, your message is falling on deaf ears. And certainly my experience with teenagers is that as well. But then I've seen my children grow into such emotionally intelligent adults, and they're still, they're still working on it in some ways. Of course they are, because it's their journey, their own journey to find their own balance and who they are and their own authentic voice. But I can see in my children that some of them have found their voice and others haven't yet. But it's their own process that they're going through. And all I can do is keep repeating the message about how amazing they are, about giving them choices rather than making decisions for them, empowering them, and just keep giving them those messages. And eventually hoping that it will land. And indeed, I'm seeing that. So it will land, but you are the model. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's been also my experience. I'm curious, like, just to be specific. So when it comes to depression, for example, so we have very severe depression in my children, and to see them do physical like harm that enhances the depression. So that's like, if you don't put gas in a car and you can't drive with it. And so seeing that so clearly, obviously everything you said 100%. I'm just like, okay. And I think we just have to, sit back, watch. I'm an example. They see it in how I live my life, but I'm very attuned to my body. And this dissociation that I'm seeing so much, it's really, I feel powerless sometimes and helpless to watch like simple correlation not compute, like if I do this, obviously this is going to happen. And it's a vicious cycle. So, and as a mother, especially, if somebody comes with pain and suffering, you want to alleviate it, or they ask you for help and you're like, obviously, if you do this, this is going to happen. So that's kind of where I'm stuck.
You're stuck because you're observing the suffering. And you're stuck because you're wanting it to change.
Yes, for sure.
And so you're looking for ways to solve the problem, what you're seeing as a problem. And maybe this is your learning.
Big
This
one.
is exactly, because you said, you're feeling powerless and helpless. But then there's the question, is that true? And how far back does that feeling go for you? This idea of feeling powerless and helpless. I would invite you just to reflect on that deep need inside of yourself to help others and to find some form of power within you. Because it's not your job. It's not your job to heal another person, and it's impossible to do, and it creates suffering in you. Maybe this is part of your process where you're observing this in your loved one, and you're desperately not wanting them to feel how they're feeling. But in that, and this is the hard bit, in that you're seeing them as broken in some way. and you're seeing them as less than in some way. If only they were different, because my perception of what's right and wrong and what they should be feeling is that it shouldn't be this. But what if this has come up to teach you to just see them in the light that they are, and what they're teaching you as well. So our children are our teachers in such a massive way.
Yeah, that really lands for me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, hold them and see their essence. And it just hasn't come through yet. They haven't found their way, but believe me, everything that you're being in their field of vision is showing them what's possible for them. And when they are ready to see and hear and feel that message, they will be able to. But see them in the light that they actually are. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was really exactly like that little missing piece. We've made such progress, but this, I think, was really like a new facet to embrace more. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Yes. Thank you for the question. Sue.
Hello.
Hi. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on a more sort of, I was saying a bit more of a metaphysical thing. What your thoughts are on that. Sometimes it seems like the universe is like testing you, but it's kind of like relentless.
Yes.
So it's testing you, even though you've kind of like learned quite a lot of lessons. It comes back and it's testing you. And then because of late, I've had so many stresses that I've almost sort of, I almost feel like I'm just like going to cave in.
Yeah.
And it kind of like touches a little bit on what Harita was saying, a little bit, some little bits that Harita was saying. But you know that thing about that phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I think it kills you, or it nearly kills you. And actually, it takes an enormous amount of work and rebuilding and resilience and kind of like sort of really like finding ways of like calming yourself or grabbing at straws to sort of like get back on the raft again in this choppy sea, and then you get thrown off again. So it's kind of like not funny anymore. It wasn't funny in the first place, but it's it's like, I don't know. I don't even know if my question even makes sense. Like, what do you think about the universe? Yeah, do you think the universe is testing when things are relentlessly happening?
I understand, where that's coming from, in terms of, I'm sure we've always gone, what, another thing to deal with? And I've had enough of this. But notice that you get to the point where you're going, oh, I've just had enough. And maybe that's the place to get to, because what happens is we tend to use the same pattern to over and over and over again to deal with the stress that's coming up. So, the way we look at what's coming up is, oh, here's another thing. Whereas it's often the way that we're looking at things, or the belief we have about whatever that is that's coming up, that it feels like, here's another thing, here's another thing. But actually, it's you're continually drawing this towards you because of something inside of you that is attracting it. And that is hard to hear. And I understand that you may feel resistance to hearing that. But this is the idea about creating a different perspective. Because we can sit in the story of all these things are coming towards me and I have got to deal with them. And I have got to work through them. And it does feel like a certain form of death. Like, I can't deal with this anymore. And that's probably the place that you're being asked to get to.
What a place of death. Well, I think that's a very good description, because I think I've definitely sort of reached the sort of dorsal vagal thing where I go to sleep, and then when I wake up, I feel like I'd rather be asleep than awake, because it's been that relentless.
Yeah.
And that is kind of like a little bit like what you're saying. That's sort of like I've been saying, I just want out. I've had enough. I just want out now, you know? So that is like seeking a form of death, but what, I don't understand it, you know? It's like, what value does that have in life? Because actually I'm fine. I'm just sort of like trundling along, and then something just comes at me and I think, God, and recently it's been a lot worse than I originally would ever have envisaged it's going to be in quite a few of the examples. So it's like I feel quite thrown around by it, but I feel exhausted by it.
Yeah. Yes. So the analogy here is the boat on the river and you've hit the rapids.
Yeah.
And the exhaustion comes from trying to control it all, or deal, you know, inverted commas, deal with all of those things. And, you know, it is exhausting trying to paddle your boat through what feels like rapids and turbulence. And that's what I mean about it's a kind of death, because what happens is you're being asked to just, okay, I'm just going to lie down in the boat, I'm going to throw the oars away and just see what happens and see where I end up. And if the boat crashes, the boat crashes. It sounds like you're being forced into a place of, well, what if I just surrender to the turbulence, and what will happen? And there's the thing, isn't it? Because there's the fear. You're having to face the whole fear of the turbulence in life. What if I have no control over what's happening? What if I can't deal with it? What happens then? And so maybe this is actually a question of, there's lots of fear coming up and lots of and I'm attracting lots of situations that are creating this fear in me that is exhausting, because I'm trying to use the same pattern to deal with the things that are coming up that I've always been using. Whether that's controlling it, whether it's sorting it out, whether it's confrontation, whether it's, you know, speaking up and being angry. It's, you know, and whatever way those things are coming to you, there's been a pattern with the way you're trying to deal with things, or the way you are dealing with things, because it's probably the pattern that you've always used. And what you could say is that if the universe is always working out for me, and if I'm always in the perfect place, then what am I really being asked to do here? And it might be surrender. And it might be just allowing the boat to travel through the turbulence and going, I can't do anything. I can't do anything about this. And so with that comes a shift in the reaction a shift into, like you said, that sort of, I can't do anything. I'll stay here in bed and I'll maybe if I don't deal with it, what happens? Life keeps happening regardless of what we do. And whether we control it or whether we don't control it, life keeps happening and things keep changing. And so maybe there's something in this, a really deep learning about a belief that you have about, and I don't know what that is. So unless you want to expand on some of the situations and unpick it a bit, it's it may be more about how you view the thing, the stress point that's coming up. Like, what if you sat back? What if you didn't feel like you had to deal with that? What if you handed that over to back to the universe, say, I can't deal with this?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have been doing that as well. I've actually, because I'm a very spiritual person, so I have been sort of engaging with sort of like those sort of practices. There's a woman who called Florence Scovel Shin, and she's very much about I can do nothing about this. I hand this. Here you go. I hand this back to you. I hand this back to God, the universe.
Yeah.
Because so I have been using a lot of stuff like that, but I think what's been really difficult for me is that a completely different thing will then happen anyway as well, just recently, so that I feel absolutely I feel like it's another layer of stress, and then having to unpick that or surrender to that, and then something else has happened on top of it. So I feel like, well, I felt a huge tightness in my chest, not wanting to be here anymore.
Yeah.
That was the worst bit, not wanting to be here anymore. And sort of like using those different sort of regulating things, like noticing things and smelling things and kind of like touching things and naming things and being in nature. And I meditate every single day. So it's almost sort of like, it's that point. I think that's the reason why I'm sort of bringing it up. It's like saying to the universe, because I do speak to her quite a lot. It's like, really, you know, like I you know, I've really had enough, and I don't know what you want from me. I feel like sometimes I'm doing everything that I can, and I am surrendering, and I do, you know, I'm human. I do get like, how can this happen to me? I'm really pissed off and all this sort of thing, but it's just felt very it's felt very unfair, because I kind of like am engaging in a lot of that stuff, like surrender, and as Florence says, digging your ditches as well, which is like sort of like doing due diligence logically and practically around the situation, and also surrendering. So it's not sort of like a flighty surrendering, it's a more rooted surrendering sort of thing, like I've done what I can, so there you go. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing here is that there is a belief at some point, at some level, there's a belief here that this is happening to you. And this is the deeper level of consciousness that you are being asked to go into and to explore. It says to me that life is taking you into a place of deep exploration around your beliefs and what you believe is happening, and it's not very pleasant. And none of it is for us when we are hitting these places of deep turbulence that are asking us to change our perspective on things at a deep level. And we find we're resisting. You know, I'm doing the work and yet it's still happening to me. And the only thing that I can say to you right now is that this requires a little bit more explanation and exploration for yourself and your own belief systems. So we can set that up, whether it's with me or with someone else, to explore these belief systems that life is hitting, and that's creating this dissonance in your whole body. And that is that's a deeper exploration than we can go into right here at this point. But the essence of it is you are being asked to disidentify with all the things that are happening to you and recognize yourself as a deeper soul, as a deeper consciousness having an experience in this world.
Thank you.
And that is an amazing thing to recognize for yourself. I am being asked to go deeper.
Thank you. That's actually really helpful. That actually has made it make some level of sense. Yeah.
Yes. And what we can do is I can email you later and offer you some resources to help and to look at this in a deeper way, if that helps. So
thanks, Tracy.
Okay. You're welcome, Sue. Thank you for asking and bringing it up. I'm sure you're not alone, actually, in the world. In fact, I know you're not, with this whole level of turbulence that's going on at a very deep level and asking us to be and create change.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Thanks, Sue. Yeah. Anybody else got something they want to ask? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in this topic. It can be whatever. Whatever comes up. Lorraine, hi.
Hello there. Sorry, I was a bit late. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. But yeah, Kirsten's just was amazing. And Sue, yeah, you're not alone. I literally was just hit that same wall, Sue, for not the first time, you know, but this was kind of like maybe well, I don't even want to say the biggest, but yeah, and it just was impossible. It was mentally and physically, it was impossible to carry on. And I'm aware of these words that I'm using, but yeah, my body has gone through lots of things in nearly 50 years, and I finally heard it.
Okay.
Loud and clear, to the point of I came home like a couple of Fridays ago. I could barely see. This is a new thing. The pain was so intense. I won't even go on, but there's been a few for lots of abdominal surgeries. And I just thought, I hear you. And that was it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I am. And actually I feel sad now again. Not sad, but it's an emotion. I actually don't feel the sad anymore. I had the saying that I can't bear to get up. I can't bear to get up. I'm putting on a face for the kids. Of course, I'm not putting on a face because they know and they see everything. I just thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing so. I took 1 week off sick, and then the following Monday I just resigned. Just gone. And I am here, and I feel, I don't know what it is, but I just feel just everything will be all right. And I don't know what's coming. And then in a way, when you said, oh, anyone got a question? And I'm thinking, oh, maybe I should know what's coming. And I don't know. And I mean, we can say all, and I'm getting all kinds of looks and judgments of, well, what's going to happen with, you know, you got, and I just think, I don't know. But I'm just like, this week, last week I was still not great physically, and this week I'm just nurturing myself. And I feel like I'm nurturing myself 1%. Sorry, I'm going on. But yeah, I just wanted to share that in an environment. And I mean, possibly if I was listening to myself any time with the last, you know, 4 or nearly 5 decades, I'd be like, oh, bloody great for you, bully for you. Like, oh, how wonderful. How'd you get there? I don't know. You know, lots of bloody hard work and lots of hitting the floor so many times. And there's just so many onions, you know, layers.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I kind of know now, and I've got maybe the gig, not that I know, and that's what I mean. It's like not less than 1%, I feel, of all the knowledge. I'm just like, right, okay, I'll start again. And there is some kind of feeling of being reborn. So that death thing,
Yeah.
Sue, I was just thinking to myself, and that's how I thought I feel dead. And actually, if I
But there
just need to
comes a
give into
rebirth.
this and survive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there comes a rebirth, and so it sounds like, and this is what it sounded like for Sue as well, that you're hitting an edge. You're hitting an edge that is really uncomfortable, and that edge eventually creates a new choice, a new decision, like it's a choice point that you come to. So it sounds like you came to a choice point, and that choice point was changing jobs or just handing your notice in. Is that what that was
Yeah,
for
I've
you?
just handed my notice in. I don't know what the next job is. Don't know anything. Well,
But I love that.
yeah, well,
I love that for you. Rather than trying to control what's happening in the future, it's like following the message that had become so big and so loud. And it just created that I've got to just change something.
yeah. Well, and don't be in a place that's unhealthy. That's not me making judgments. My body and mind and everything was telling me in the place, the work. And it's not about work, you know, it's about whatever. But you know, the environment, just you don't need to be in unhealthy environments.
Exactly.
That
And
might be
so
the
notice
first teeny
the
step.
yeah, and the delay in making that choice was fear. A fear about, you know, if I give up this job, then I give up the income and I give up the whatever else is associated with that. So I feel that at this particular time in the world and globally, that we are being asked to really face the fear. And it's the fear that creates the suffering. It's the fear of change, the fear of doing something. This is stable and comfortable, but I'm not happy. But can I just put up with that? And this place is scary, but it's sort of the place I want to go. And we almost have to feel this type of death that we're describing is like moving from a place of stability and yet unhappiness to a place of the own unknown and the fear that brings. And that's sort of the edge that we're being asked to cross over. Does that resonate?
Dull down the noise. Yeah, yeah. And I think that thing of, you know, the thing in Sue for me when I was remembering that it is a you know, the hamster wheel. I mean, there's such cliches, but you are, because you're just in survival. I was in survival mode. I must make them breakfast. I must do this. I must do that. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
You're so welcome, and thank you for sharing. I love the way this is going, because, you know, this is just moving away from I have this thing, this pain, to who am I and what am I here to do? And this whole death and rebirth is actually, it feels awful when you're in the middle of it. You know, whether if you know the tarot, like the death card is always about rebirthing, and it's a good thing. And the tower is the collapsing moment that you were probably describing as well, Sue and Lorraine, that the tower moment is that where everything that we know and understand is collapsing around us. But it's such a positive thing, and it's so easy to say when you're out the other side of it. It's just great to be able to say, oh yeah, this is just a tower moment for you. But actually, it feels like a destruction, like a real destruction of everything we know and what we believe. And we're hanging on with our old patterns to oh, I want to hang on. I want to keep using the same pattern because I don't know a different pattern, but we're being forced into creating a new life, a new perspective, a new belief. And that essentially is healing.
Mm. I
And
think one really powerful thing for me, I literally feel like, and I recognize maybe in my 40s, that I've had the Grim Reaper standing literally with me, like such a darkness, such a fear. And then just that recent thing, whatever it was, I was so fearful. I couldn't see any way out. I couldn't see, well, I want to be here. I don't see any value, whatever, all these things. And then I thought, well, it's actually, you were always pushing away part of us. And I thought, well, it's not to be like, she's part of me. And if she's here anyway, what am I trying to fight?
yeah.
And then something just lifted.
Yeah. And understanding that fear is part of life, and it's not that we need to fight it, which is what our tendency is to avoid and fight it by continuing using similar patterns. It's more that when we understand it, it's like understanding the darkness is actually is us. It's no different from the light. It's just that we can't quite see it. And it's like what we don't always understand, we fear, but actually it's almost it. And this is where we go into this deep place of understanding consciousness in a deeper way, that once we move past the duality of our human life, then there is no light and dark. It just is, we are the essence. We are life itself. We are existence. And we're just experiencing this this duality of fear and joy and emotions in this human body because we want to know and understand what we are and what we're not. But that's taking it really deep, which is great. We've probably got time just for one more question if anyone wants to ask anything before we close, or share anything. Yeah, Kirsten, sorry.
If I can just add something to tie it together, because it feels to me a little bit like we've had some beautiful sharings of people really grappling with this, just I'm too tired, I don't want to do this anymore. And then what I shared of like this feeling of powerlessness. And because the depression of my children, all three of them with suicide attempts and not wanting to be here, like both sides, like my big learning of, even if they're young people, like trusting their process and not taking the responsibility of fixing it and changing it, but holding that non-judgmental space. And then for the person who is going through it, that like their trust in their own process. So like for both sides, because everyone has loved ones that are want to support them or going through their own situation. So for both sides, I feel what came out of this beautiful conversation is this, like, can I be just with what is, dissolve the duality, by resisting what is, and that wholeness is actually, that's the healing, right? So you were saying like the healing is wholeness, and the duality is actually the fracture that wants to heal.
Yeah.
By just accepting the fear and the joy, the light and the dark. And this is what it means to be alive now as me. So thanks. That really helped me to see both sides connected in this way.
I love that you said that, Kirsten. So thank you so much for offering that up. And I would like to just end by saying that because we live in this duality where we experience these real extremes, it also means that, you know, when you think of the yin yang symbol, we cannot be one thing without also being another. So in the darkness, in the very, very dark place that we get to, that is such a huge experience that we can only be here to step into the light from that place, if that makes sense. We can only find light from that place, and we can only find life from death. We can only live really fully from being so close to that desire of dying. You know, it's like it's that polarity which actually creates a beautiful human experience, and that we have that potential. We're not just living somewhere in the middle where we're not experiencing these huge dynamics of living and dying. We can only experience these edges because we have within us that capacity for light as well. You know, how people come back from this really dark place to teach and share their light. And that's what's crazy about the whole human experience, is that the duality that we live in actually allows the potential to be born from the darkness. You know, it never stays as one thing. It always changes, like the yin yang symbol. It's always this movement. So I have such great faith that your children will come back from this dark place to be amazing teachers in the world of light, if that makes sense. And that our darkest times are our greatest teachers, and bring us into a new way of living, and a changed way of living. And Tilly's nodding, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Tilly, but I also know that you've been through such a dark place and into such a dark place that you have come through into understanding what light you do have. I mean, I don't know if you just want to end by speaking to that a little bit.
Yeah, it was so much resistance, and so much resonates with what everyone of you are saying. And even Lorraine, like, you should be so proud of yourself for having the courage to go out there and just taking ownership of having change. And I couldn't do that. And what happens, my body fought for what it was going to do and had a battle of its own. And I feel with all this fear inside, I couldn't understand what it was that I was searching for. And coming out from the other side of it, it's like, wow, it's like the consciousness is there. Like, I can see everything that's going on. I feel like so much lighter. But then sometimes the universe does give you a little bit of, you know, hurdles going on, and you have to find the answers to it. For me, it's just all about the beliefs, like Tracy. Like, does it ever come to an end to the belief system, or is there always a new challenge and a new belief that comes away that you have to conquer, and then, you know, you go deep in that sense, if that makes sense?
We're in an awakening process. Healing is an awakening process. It's awakening to the illusion that we're suffering. if you want to go really deep and into this idea of how we look at awakening is being aware that we're living in an illusion that creates suffering by using fear to control us. When you understand that fear is an illusion and that there is no such thing outside of a duality, so you are being called to an awakening process, and healing is always a way of awakening to who we truly are. What's our true essence inside? What am I involving my mind in, and what's my mind getting all tied up with that isn't actually true? And so whether there's any end to it, as in, I don't know, I continually have challenges and I have to continually rework my belief systems and thoughts, and I have to tweak what my mind is telling me. And for me, it's been a continual process, and I'm not there yet. Or maybe there is no there to get to. That's what deeper consciousness teachers would tell us, that there is no there to get to. We are just in this process of continually becoming more and more aware of who we are, that we are consciousness. Whether we're alive or whether we die, we stay as this consciousness, and we reincarnate to experience different things. And we're all here actually at this moment in time to awaken. And as we dissolve these layers of the illusion of the beliefs that we're holding, I believe that I'm not worthy is just a belief that we're holding that has to be dissolved. And as we dissolve it, we become lighter and we become a higher vibration. And then we can see other layers of muck that we're holding, and rubbish, and self depreciation, and self hatred that we're holding. And the more and so as we start to clear the thoughts, then the anger doesn't come up as much, the trigger doesn't come up as much, because we are not engaging in the same way. And we're changing the belief that this person is hurting me, or this situation is hurting me, or triggering me, or creating anger in me, because we start to understand that it's all illusory, really. It's not true. It's another belief. It's just another belief that this situation is creating this conflict in me. It's actually when you let go of that belief that it's anything to do with you, and that you start to identify with it, then it's all just becomes a thing that happens. You observe it until something else comes up. So I find that it's a layer by layer, like we said already. And it's just it's an awakening process to our own essence. We've gone really deep in this session, but does that help at all? Does it make it?
Yes. Thank you so much, Tracy. Yes. And I'm loving this new me. So it's all, I know things had to happen for it to happen, but yeah, I'm grateful. Thank you for being on my journey.
And you can just see that brightness and that high vibration in you, that, as it comes across, and we can all feel it from you, who you are, who your essence is. It's so joyful.
Thank you.
So, wow, thank you for everybody for turning up. Thank you for the deep questions. And I wasn't expecting us to go into that place, but I love that we did. And I really appreciate it. Who knows what will happen next time? So thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.